The House comes to oral questions. Question number 1 is in the name of the Honourable Nikki Kaye.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Question to the Prime Minister. Does she stand by Cabinet's decision not to consider lifting Alert Level 2 restrictions and moving to Level 1 until 8 June?
The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
On behalf of the Prime Minister, the premise of that member's question is sadly incorrect. In fact, by choosing a decision date of 8 June, Cabinet decided to bring it forward from 22nd June. The member should be happy with the parties of this government and that they are cooperating to move as fast as we can on this important matter.
Supplementary question. Does she stand by her Cabinet paper that Alert Level 1 controls are predicated upon there having been no new cases from community transmission for at least 28 days?
On behalf of the Prime Minister, most definitely, accepting that was only one of 8 conditions set down at the time, and I'd invite that member to read the full paper before coming to this House with a not complete idea of what she's talking about.
Supplementary question. When was the last case of community transmission in New Zealand?
34 days ago.
Supplementary question. Does she stand by her statement yesterday that the criteria for decision-making on Alert Level 1 includes trends in the transmission of the virus, and isn't the most significant trend the fact that there has been no community transmission in over a month?
On behalf of the Prime Minister, to the first question, most definitely stand by that statement. As to the second issue and question raised by the member, it is only one of the criteria that is being considered by the Cabinet on the 8th of June.
Supplementary question. Does the government have confidence in our border controls to enable the country to move to Level 1?
On behalf of the Prime Minister, and I dare say the Minister of Customs and others here, we've done our best to secure and ensure that our borders are safe. That requires us to be extraordinarily vigilant. It requires us to cooperate with other countries as well. We have done everything we can, I believe, to ensure that when we come to make the decision, the security of our borders will not be one where we will be concerned about any failure or omission there.
Why has the Deputy Prime Minister failed to persuade her to move to Level 1 immediately?
On behalf of the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister is one of the most persuasive people I've met. However, I'll answer the question, Sunshine, when I get to it, all right? But the reality is that we belong to a coalition where cooperation and debate and discussion, sometimes heated, nevertheless leads to better decisions. Not some discordant one-man band where the leader and the supporter is the same person.
Order. Before the member asks this, I let it run and then I've thought about it. I know that the term sunshine is a term of endearment, but it's probably not an appropriate one to use in the House. David Seymour.
Sorry, Grandpa. Is she aware of the reasons why, after calling for an immediate
point of order, Tracy Martin.
As the Minister for Seniors, I object to the ageist phrase that member just used before he started his question.
Did the member use an ageist phrase?
Mr Speaker, as you said earlier, it's a term of endearment.
The member heard a warning as to the inappropriateness of using terms even if they were of endearment, and if he deliberately used a term of endearment, then I'm striking the question out.
Oh, Mr Speaker, I wasn't deliberate.
Well, if the member ignorantly used one, I'm striking it out as well. Nikki Kaye. The Honourable Nikki Kaye.
Point of order, Mr.
A point of order, David Seymour.
Mr Speaker, you frequently allow other members to ask their question, even after cautioning them about their conduct. To take a question away on that basis is grossly unfair, and it undermines this House being able to hold the government accountable.
Okay, the member will resume his seat. The member through an arrangement with another member, has had double the questions that he normally has had this week. And if he is serious about holding the House to account, he will, especially after a warning's been issued, stay within standing orders and Speaker's rulings. He deliberately flouted them, and for members who deliberately flout them, there are consequences, and for members on both sides of the House, as both whips will indicate, I do regularly take questions from parties who deliberately breach the rules or ignorantly breach the rules, as that member did. Nikki Kaye. I'm not going to have the subject debated again.
Fresh point of order, Mr Speaker.
On a different issue?
Yes. I seek leave to ask an additional supplementary question.
Is there any objection to that? There is.
Oh.
All right. Member will leave the chamber. The Honourable Nikki Kaye.
Supplementary question. Why are we not at level 1 when her cabinet paper states there is no need for restrictions if there is no community transmission for 28 days and we have confidence in our border controls?
Again, the reality is, and I set it out, that there are 8 criteria, not 1. Now thus far, in all these supplementary questions, I've heard of 2 of the pathways of judgment, not the other 6. But if we wait here long enough, maybe I'll belt down the other 6 as well.
Supplementary question. What is the reason the Deputy Prime Minister gave her for wanting to move to level 1 over a week ago?
On behalf of the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister came along and said, we have 2 cycles target, we're going to meet that. There are other things that we are going to have to focus on, such as border security and a range of other matters as well, including the effectiveness of an app and community awareness and cooperation. But the reality, but the Deputy Prime Minister above all stressed that it was the economy and its turnaround and recovery that was so critical in his thinking, and that was put before her as the Prime Minister.
Supplementary question. Is one of the reasons that she has not moved the country into level 1 the reason articulated by the Honourable Willie Jackson about alert levels, that another week is not going to hurt?
On behalf of the Prime Minister, no, it's not that at all, but the Prime Minister, you recall, just 3 days ago, was listening to another leader of another party who said he didn't and couldn't take a position on alert level 1 because he isn't the Prime Minister, in the quotes. Now, I don't know where that member is getting her leadership from, but that's what the then and now and new National Party leadership said.
The Honourable Chris Hipkins.
To the Prime Minister, does she believe that there would be an increased risk of community transmission taking hold in New Zealand again if we moved to reopen the border with urgency to countries like China, as advocated by the Leader of the Opposition?
On behalf of the Prime Minister, that is an extremely good question because it demonstrates how dangerous the thinking of some people is. Because if we were to do that, then who would know, according to one of the 8 criteria laid out, how sound our border was? And I actually was astonished when I heard it, and I still don't believe that someone honestly could have put it forward as a sound add to the Tasman bubble, that proposition.
Supplementary question. Does she agree with either Willie Jackson or Wellington pub owner Matt McLaughlin, who says his bar Danger Danger is still in a world of hurt at level 2?
On behalf of the Prime Minister, of course, the Prime Minister sympathises with every businessman and woman who, because of this outside intruder, has suffered so much. Everybody on this side of the House understands that, and that's why we're doing our best to get back to normalcy as fast as we possibly can, and possibly 2 weeks earlier than originally projected. But here's the real point. We are not going to use the misery of people caused by some outside influence for which none of us are responsible just to try and advance our miserable political careers.
Supplementary question. Why did she not listen to her Deputy Prime Minister and the thousands of businesses across New Zealand that are hurting as a result of not being in level 1?
On behalf of the Prime Minister, she almost had me there. But I've got to say that it is a decision to be made by all of Cabinet, and all of Cabinet will be listening to the country at the same time.
Question number 2, Dr Deborah Russell.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Research, Science and Innovation.